Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. We just passed 940 and 950 subscribers. I appreciate your guys' support so much on this amazing journey, and I hope I can continue to make great content you guys will enjoy in the future. Now, Week 7 of the USFL season is here, and I'm going to go over every single game this week and see which teams I think will win and lose this week. Now, the USFL in the standings, all these teams are close together. I'm still trying to figure out if it's because every team is actually pretty solid or none of the teams are that good. Maybe it's the latter, but I'm not 100% sure. I still think there are some circumstances with some of these teams. You look at Birmingham and some of their injuries, which could be a reason why they are struggling. And in the USFL, you do not have practice time before the season starts that much with your team, and you're trying to get your roster to fit with a team that's never played together before in the past. But still, a lot of the teams in the USFL are struggling, but maybe this is the week we start to see some separation in the standings. And the first game on deck, we have the Birmingham Stallions going on the road to the New Orleans Breakers. This is one of those de facto road games for the Birmingham Stallions, and they are in Birmingham. So this is a home game for them, even though it's being designated as a road game. We saw the same thing with the Memphis Showboats and the Houston Gamblers earlier this year. It's hilarious. The USFL has to designate a home game for the New Orleans Breakers here to be able to have their number of home games the same as Birmingham, but still, this is a home game for Birmingham no matter how you slice it. Their fans should definitely help them out in this game. But Birmingham last week, they're starting to get back on track. They beat the Michigan Panthers 27-13, although the Panthers are really struggling, so Birmingham was able to get a relatively easy win there. Alex McGoughy was 19-24 for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 11 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown as well. He's a guy that is really solid through the air and on the ground. And when he's not turning the football over, he actually can be a solid quarterback. He might not be Jamar Smith, who's out for the season, and taking care of the football, but Alex McGoughy has been doing a better job with Skip Holtz as head coach and helping Alex McGoughy learn the offense to do a better job of not turning it over. CJ Marable had 18 carries for 100 yards, and Jay Sternberger had 3 receptions for 21 yards. So Birmingham, their offense is doing a solid job. Their defense, you still got Shark Dog and Scooby Rye on the defense, and it seems like Birmingham's starting to step it up on the defensive side of the ball. And Birmingham might be catching New Orleans at the right time because New Orleans is on a 2-game losing streak. They started the season out 4-0, and again, New Orleans is reminding me of the Houston Roughnecks in the XFL, where they started out 4-0, then they went on a skid in the middle of the season, then they turned it around at the end of the season. So maybe New Orleans will do the same thing, but last week they lost to the Philadelphia Stars 16-10, and Philadelphia was under 500 before last week's game. So New Orleans is really struggling. They should have beat Philadelphia, but they're just not playing well at all at this time. McLeod Bethel-Thompson was 22-38 for 190 yards, a touchdown and 2 interceptions, but he was much better in the first 4 weeks of the season. He was throwing for over 300 yards, and he looked like by far the best quarterback in this league, but he is really struggling right now. I don't know if it's the offensive line regressing or if teams are just starting to figure out the New Orleans offense. I think that might be part of the problem. McLeod Bethel-Thompson is not a scrambler either, so it definitely helps defense to be able to sack him. Wesley Hills, he's still a great player. He had 18 carries for 74 yards and 5 receptions for 30 yards. He's probably the most dynamic player on the New Orleans Breakers offense, but he alone is not enough to help New Orleans get a win. Wesley Hills is going to need help from the rest of the offense to be able to make New Orleans offense more dynamic. Johnny Dixon had 4 receptions for 32 yards and a touchdown, but if this game was earlier in the season, the way Birmingham was playing and New Orleans was playing really good at 4-0, I probably would have picked New Orleans. But this is a home game for Birmingham. It is in Birmingham, and I think that the Stallions' home crowd is definitely going to help them out. Birmingham seems to be trending in the right direction. New Orleans seems to be trending in the wrong direction. So I think that Birmingham's going to find a way to beat New Orleans here and keep the losing streak going for the Breakers. I'm going to go with Birmingham to beat New Orleans 24-17, for Birmingham to move to 5-2 and New Orleans to fall 2-4-3. This game should be a solid game, and it could potentially be the game of the week. Now on to the next game. You got the Philadelphia Stars and the Pittsburgh Maulers. This game's in Canton, Ohio, so it's not a home game for either team, even though it's being designated as a home game for Pittsburgh, but still not going to be a lot of fans there, unfortunately, for either team. But this is a rivalry, and Philadelphia, they seem to be starting to get their footing back. They're 3-3 now. Last week, they beat the New Orleans Breakers 16-10. That was a really good win. That was a potentially momentum-building win for Philadelphia. And Case Cook, he was 17-27 for 238 yards. He did have 2 picks, but he had 9 carries for 43 yards. Despite the 2 interceptions, Case Cook still did enough on the offensive end to help Philadelphia win. And Philadelphia, they've got potentially the best best kicker in the USFL with Louis Aguiar. He has been doing a great job at kicking the ball, and in one game Philadelphia won, he had all the points kicking all the field goals. Matt Colburn at 13 carries for 62 yards and 2 receptions for 13 yards, and Corey Coleman at 6 receptions for 76 yards. So Philadelphia, even though they're still struggling, they are starting to play a little bit better. They're starting to get back into the win column. And the Pittsburgh Maulers right now are getting mauled by every team in the USFL. Last week they lost to the Memphis Show as 22-0. It's not good when your name's the Maulers and you're the one getting mauled. You're supposed to be providing the mauling, but Pittsburgh still struggling right now. But the one thing that could help Pittsburgh out is they did beat the Philadelphia Stars already in this rivalry game, in this in-state rivalry game. Maybe that will give Pittsburgh the confidence to be able to beat Philadelphia again, but they are not playing as well as they were earlier in the season. And again, losing 22-0 to the Showboats last week was not very good. It's not a good look at all, even though Memphis is playing a little bit better. Troy Williams, he was 13-19 for 145 yards and an interception, and James Morgan was 9-19 for 98 yards and 2 interceptions. It seems like Pittsburgh's starting to fall into the Michigan Panthers trap of trying to figure out who their starting quarterback is, so they're playing both quarterbacks. Neither of them are playing at a high level at times. They really weren't last week. Troy Williams has had his moments of playing really well, but he is kind of turnover prone, and when defenses figure out the option game of the Pittsburgh Maulers, it makes their offense really easy to stop. Madre London, 5 carries for 14 yards, so the Pittsburgh offensive line is not really helping out the Maulers because they're not able to run the ball. And Bailey Gaither, 5 receptions, 41 yards, and 2 carries for 16 yards. He had a solid week last week for Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's really struggling right now. Even though they beat Philadelphia the first time around, the way Pittsburgh's playing as of this time, I think Philadelphia looks like the better team on both sides of the ball. Case Coogan should have a solid game. Pittsburgh's defense hasn't been the best in the USFL the last couple weeks. I'm going to go with Philadelphia to beat Pittsburgh 21-10 in this in-state rivalry, even though it's out of state in Canton, Ohio, where this game will be played. For Philadelphia to move to 4-3 and Pittsburgh to fall to 2-5. Now on to our next game that could also be the game of the week in the USFL, pending on the way these results go. The Houston Gamblers, who are 4-2, are going on the road to the Memphis Showboats. Actually, this game is in Memphis, so it is truly a road game. Memphis is 3-3. Both teams are playing really solid football right now. The Houston Gamblers, they're the inverse of the New Orleans Breakers. They started the season 0-2, but they've gone 4-0 the last 4 weeks. And last week they beat the New Jersey Generals 16-10. They didn't play great in that game, but a win is a win. Kenji Bahar, he was back for the Houston Gamblers. You had Terry Wilson having to play for Kenji Bahar the week before last week because Kenji Bahar was hurt, but now Kenji Bahar was back, and he was 19-29 for 130 yards. He had 1 carry for -2 yards. Surprising he did not have more yards on the ground because he can't run the football, but it seemed like New Jersey was trying to stop the quarterback run game for the Houston Gamblers. They had some success there, but still wasn't enough for New Jersey to beat Houston. But at least for the Gamblers, they have 2 quarterbacks that they can trust in Terry Wilson and Kenji Bahar. If Kenji Bahar gets hurt again, hopefully he does not. But Mark Thompson, he's been great on the ground, which is a big reason why the Houston Gamblers were winning. He returned in week 3 for the Gamblers. In the first 2 weeks of the season, Houston lost. So since Mark Thompson's return, Houston is 4-0. And Mark Thompson, he had 22 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown and 4 receptions for 8 yards. He's definitely been the best player on the offense for the Houston Gamblers since his return. And Justin Hall had 6 receptions for 59 yards. Since Mark Thompson's back, Houston's undefeated. I think they'll have a great chance to win this game. But it's on the road. It's going to be really tough to play at the Memphis Showboats, and they have a great crowd. And last week, Memphis destroyed the Pittsburgh Maulers 22-0. They were fantastic on offense and defense, and they're now 3-3 and playing much better than they were at the beginning of the season when they were like potentially the worst team in the USFL. Cole Kelly was 14-24 for 135 yards and a touchdown, and he had 10 carries for 21 yards. Since he's been inserted to the offense, Memphis has been doing much better because Brady White and Ron Willis were both struggling for Memphis. Cole Kelly, he doesn't turn the football over like those other 2 quarterbacks did. That's why Memphis' offense is doing better. Jawan Washington had 20 carries for 71 yards. He's a really solid running back. And Vinny Papelli had 3 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown. Memphis' offense is improving week by week, and their defense seems to be getting better as well. They pitched a shutout last week against the Pittsburgh Maulers. I think with the Houston Gamblers being undefeated since Mark Thompson has come off of his injury and he's playing really well at running back, the Gamblers will have a great chance to win this game. But I think the 4-game winning streak for the Gamblers will be stopped because this game's in Memphis. Memphis is playing much better as well, and they looked really good last week, and I think that momentum will carry over to this week. I'm going to go with the Memphis Showboats to move to 4-3 and beat the Houston Gamblers, who I think will fall to 4-3 as well, 24-21. In this potential game of the week, this should be a fantastic game. I think this game has the biggest potential to go either way. It should be a really close game, but I'm going with the Memphis Showboats to get the win this week. And in the last game of the week in the USFL in Canton, Ohio, you've got the Michigan Panthers at 2-4 and the New Jersey Generals at 2-4. Both teams really struggling right now and potentially could fall further in the USFL standings with a loss in this game. But the Michigan Panthers, they are in a free fall because they are just like the New Orleans Breakers, where they're really struggling. They started the season 2-0, and since that start to the season, they've lost their last 4 games. They are in a free fall. Last week, they lost to Birmingham 27-13. They really posed no threat against the Stallions. Panthers just struggling. At least to the Michigan Panthers' credit, they did have Josh Love starting at quarterback this week. He was 20 of 34 for 222 yards and a touchdown, 3 carries for 5 yards. So there was no Carson Strong. I feel like Michigan plays better when they stick to one quarterback. When they've been going back and forth with Carson Strong, Josh Love, it just hasn't been working out. Josh Love won the first 2 games for Michigan, but since then, he kind of started to struggle. Then they were switching quarterbacks, and the offense just completely stalled. But Josh Love, he did play better this past week, and Carson Strong never entered the game, but still Michigan wasn't enough for them to win. Stevie Scott had 9 carries for 46 yards, and Trey Quinn had 7 receptions for 108 yards. So their offense wasn't awful this past week, but their defense just was not able to slow down Birmingham. I feel like Michigan will have a much better chance to win this game because it's not really a home game for either team. There's not going to really be a home crowd in Canton, Ohio for the New Jersey Generals or the Michigan Panthers. And Birmingham's a much better team than New Jersey, so I think Michigan will have a chance. But New Jersey, they're 2-4 as well. Last week they lost to the Houston Gamblers 16-10. Houston's been playing much better. New Jersey almost won that game. They had several chances, but they just fell short. Kyle Lauletta, he was 17 of 30 for 177 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, and 4 carries for 24 yards. He's the new starting quarterback for the New Jersey Generals. DeAndre Johnson, he is out right now. Kyle Lauletta is in. He's actually been playing fairly solid. He's not a perfect quarterback. He still throws interceptions at times. Some untimely mistakes he does make, but still, he actually has been solid at quarterback. Darius Victor, 10 carries for 38 yards and 1 reception for 9 yards. Darius Victor was a great running back for the New Jersey Generals last year, and he was really solid this year, but he has started to fumble the football a lot more, which is a big reason why New Jersey has been losing the last couple of games. He has to take care of the football, and if not, then New Jersey's going to have to find a different option at running back. And Warren Newman had 5 receptions for 55 yards. This is a game that's really tough to figure out because both teams are really struggling. There's not really a home field advantage for either team, and Michigan's in a complete free fall, losing their last 4 games. New Jersey, they have been a little bit more up and down where they've won a game and lost a game. This game should be a low-scoring game because neither team's playing that confidently right now, but I do think as long as New Jersey takes care of the football and Darius Victor's not fumbling the ball, I feel like New Jersey might be just a little bit better than Michigan is right now, even though Michigan looked a bit better this past week with Josh Love playing a bit better. I'm going to go with the New Jersey Generals to beat the Michigan Panthers 17-14 for New Jersey to move to 3-4, Michigan to fall to 2-5. This should be an interesting game and has the potential to be really close, but the Michigan Panthers and the Pittsburgh Maulers, if they do lose this week, will be at the bottom of the USFL standings at 2-5, which will be really tough. It'll be a big win for the New Jersey Generals to try to stay in the playoff hunt. Now, those are the Week 7 games in the USFL. We're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. It's going to be really interesting to see which teams do win this week. But I'm going with the Birmingham Stallions, the Philadelphia Stars, the Memphis Showboats, and the New Jersey Generals to all get wins this week. And all these games are becoming more and more important each week as every team tries to find a way to sneak into the USFL playoffs at the end of the season. Comment down below what you think about the Week 7 games of the USFL slate, which teams you think will win, and what you think about my picks this week. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description. And I'll see you next time.